Hello, so today we are going to do this problem called first unique numbers from Leetcode 30-day challenge. Okay, let's do it. You have a queue of integers. You need to first retrieve the first unique integer in the queue. The first unique integer in the queue. And we want to implement the first unique class such that we get as a parameter to the constructor the numbers in the queue, right? And we need a method show first unique, which returns the value of the first unique integer of the queue and returns -1 if there is no such integer. So we need this show first unique that returns the values of the first unique integer of the queue and returns -1 if there is no such integer, okay? And add int value, which inserts a value into the queue, okay? The main tricky part here is this: how do we determine the first unique integer? So if you look at this example, we insert 235, right? And then we want to show the first unique. So we output 2. That's the first unique one. 2 is unique here. And then we add 5. So we have now 2 5s. So if you want the first unique, it's still 2. That's this here. And then we add 2. Now the first unique is 3. And then we add 3. Now there is no first unique, so return -1. For this one, there is no unique, so return -1. So we need some way of keeping track of the occurrences of each number. That way we can check in the queue, right? So the first thing we need to do is what would be the brute force way to do this? So the brute force solution would be to just every time we get add, you just add to the queue, but every time we get show first unique, we go through the elements and we never pop, right? So we just go through the elements and find the one that is not unique, that is first, right? We could just traverse the queue. Another thing we can accelerate that with is we could maintain a counter of the occurrence of each element and update that as we go. And if an element occurs more than once, we put it to the back of the queue. Okay, and the other possible solution is to have 2 queues. A queue for unique numbers and a queue for numbers that occurred more than once. Or not a queue necessarily, just a list of numbers that occurs more than once. We don't care about numbers that, once a number occurs more than once, we could just remove it. Or we don't care about it in the queue, so we could just either remove it or put it in another list, right? And then, so we could just, so let's first do this. Let's write this down. So, no pop. So elements are not popped, right? The other thing is that once an element occurs a second time, we can remove it from the first unique. Queue, right? So we can maintain. We don't care about how much maintain a collection of occurrence, right? And so we could have here like occurrences, let's call that counter, for the numbers here, and we could have from collections. Okay, then we could have this queue, uniques, unique queue, right? And then we could go through I think there is something here we could use with, so let's take for example a list like this one. Okay, so we could have this list, let's add another 5 and maybe 2 6 7 7 6, right? Okay, so the counter for that one is right, so can we get unique items from counter, right? So let's just look at the API for counter, Python, of course. Okay, we could just get the items, right? So that would give us this, the key and the value, and then just filter. So we get key value for key value. So what we are interested in are the values, are the keys. If key k equal to 1, if the key is equal to 1, the number of occurrences is 1. We want so here we want the key, but we want to check the value is equal to 1, the number of occurrences is equal to 1, so we get 2 and 3. Now once we get this, these are the unique numbers, right? So this is what we want to put here in the list, in the uniques queue, right? And now show first unique would just return the unique 0, right? Now here, here we add the value, so we say self.occurrences of value, we incremented by 1. Now if this is bigger than 1, then we want to pop it from, we want to remove it, right? So so if it's equal to 1, we want to add it, right? So self.unique. I think we might want to use a queue here, so collections.dq. Can append and pipe left. So we can import from collections Do we really need it? So once we show the first unique here, and we check the value is equal to 1, we want to remove it. So let's say we have unique is equal to 2, 3, and we want to remove 2, for example, so, or 3. So what we will, or let's say it's more elements than that. Let's say we want to remove 4, so unique. What would make deletion easier here? So we could say unique. It's what I'm just trying to do. I can even do the brute force, that would be fine. Just wanna make this work first. So we could say remove value otherwise, which means it's bigger than 1. So we should just increment the value. Sorry. So we shouldn't add it if the value is bigger than 1, we should remove it from the queue. If the value is... So what happens if we remove a value that doesn't exist? Let's say 7. The element is not in the list, so we need to check. So we can do this first. Is equal to 1, then we remove it and increment. Now if the value was equal to 0, actually, this is what we want. Then we want to remove. If the value is bigger than 0, or bigger or equal to 1, we want to remove it and increment its count. Otherwise, it was equal to 0, and if it is equal to 0, we just want to add it. And we want to add it to the queue. So, self.unique. And we're gonna append. This is not really a queue for now, it's just a list. But so we get those that are unique. When we add, we return the first one always. When we add, we check if this value exists already, we remove it from the queue, and we increment its occurrence. So actually we can do this at the end. Okay. Let's see if this works on some examples. So this should be occurrence. So if here we need to handle the case that it's empty, we should return -1. Okay, so that looks like it worked. We can also try this example. Okay, here, so if, how come it's bigger than 1, the occurrence, and it's not in the list? Oh, okay, it's because of this. So we may definitely, there is a good chance we get unlimited exception, time limit exceeded. Yep. Okay, so how can we improve the speed of this? So this is the portion that is making it hard. This here. So two options here. One option here is to make this faster by using a set, and to make this faster by using just popping the first element if it's not unique. So how can we do this? Let's separate this out into multiple pieces. So set for checking presence, and one thing I'm thinking about also is maybe we can redistribute the work between this and this, right? So what if we just increment here, right? And append anyway. So just append the value anyway, right? And then here we can check if, so while this is bigger than 1, then we should pop so for collection.dq we can pass a list, so we could have collections import dq, and then we could say dq of 1, 2, 3. Okay, so what this would mean here is we could say dq of this. And pop left. So let me just confirm that this what is happening. So if this is D, then pop left we should return, we want it to return to us 1, right? It does. And now D0 is, because we already popped, yep, cool. And then if we append, it should append to the end. So if I do append 5, it appended to the end, good. So I pop while it's, the occurrence is bigger than 1, and then at the end I just return the last value, the first value. Of course, if it's also not unique after this, should return -1. So here also we should say while self.unique, and okay, looks reasonable there. So what we are doing here is we always append the value and increment its count, the count of occurrence, and here is where we check. While it's not a unique number, we just remove it from the queue, and at the end, if there is still an element in the front, we return that. So let's try this. Okay, so that's accepted, cool. Yep. because this won't happen like a lot. At most, it will happen like once and empty the queue if all of them have duplicates. Yeah, so pretty much just using a dequeue, the queue, and a map to count the number of occurrences. And we always, in the add operation, we always add the value and increment its count. And in the show first unique, we check if it's unique, we return it. Otherwise, here we keep popping until we find the first unique number. Yeah, that's it pretty much for this.